insights, especially that you've been directly involved from the very beginning in funding the broadband deal. And I'm sure you've gained so much experience and knowledge about Oman, and I hope that we will see more projects in the sectors that you mentioned in the near future. I would like now to direct my question to His Excellency Dr. Ali Masoud Al-Sanidi. Thank you, Your Excellency, for joining us. It's exciting to see that AIB has already funded projects in the Duqm Free Zone. And this is, of course, a clear testimony by the bank of the Duqm's importance and potential as a growth pole driving the socioeconomic development of Oman in the future. So we would like to hear from you on what are the competitive advantages of the Duqm Free Zone and the other free zones across the Sultanate. And also, if you could speak to us about the updates over the recent development of Duqm multi-kind projects, just to give a flavor on what's actually going on, given your first-hand experience and involvement on the ground with what's actually going on the ground in the Duqm and the other free zones. So over to you, and now we're looking forward to hear your views and insights on this.
Well, thank you very much, Samra. And what I would do is to take it from where His Excellency Abdul Salam and His Excellency Qais have left it, in terms of probably digging deep into what those free zones and special economic zones can add in terms of the proposition of Oman for attracting investment. What I would like also to do that, come back later and echo to what Mr. DJ Pandian and also Mr. Giorgio Leo have said with regard to two particular areas. One is connectivity, and the other is, of course, stability of regulation and how to go forward from here. Probably for the benefit of the participants, the other participants that are with us today, we have free special economic and free zones in Oman. And I would say that although Sohar, which is 45 square kilometers of land, and Salalah, which is 20 square kilometers of land, and Al-Mazuna, which is 14.5 square kilometers, probably now everybody is talking about Duqm for one reason, and that is the scale of it is 2,000 square kilometers. So you could see the scale of the special economic zone in comparison to the other three free zones. The second thing is that Duqm is in the making, while Sohar, as you probably already know, is a well-established port and a well-established petrochemical hub. So there are many companies that already understand their capabilities and their reason for existence. The steel mill of Jindal, the aluminum smelter, Valley, everybody who's in, of course, Sohar would tell you that it has been a worthwhile experience in terms of how the government was able to create a free zone that is attractive to multinational companies. Salalah in particular is also a different creature on its own, because Salalah this year have already touched on its almost peaking capacity of 4.3, 4.5 million TEUs. And that's a lot of cargo already in such a port. And they are already in the thought of expanding. Both ports are co-managed, of course, with international companies, A.P. Møller-Maersk, of course, you know, in Salalah, but also in Sohar, you've seen the capabilities also of Rotterdam. Now, Duqm in particular comes as a different package, because what it has now is an investment of about 2.5 billion Riyal Omani that is already completed, partly state investment, partly is financed, and one of them, thank you very much, is done between the Investment Authority and the AIB. And that is a sizable investment that is right there on the ground. Secondly, we have just completed the gas pipeline to Duqm, because as you already know, Sohar and Salalah had a capacity which is almost used up. But the capacity that is now targeted for Duqm is huge. It is 25 million cubic meter of gas daily. And what has been already allocated is 7 million to the refinery and the power station. We already have now a parcel of 5 million cubic meters of gas that we are now discussing with potential investors in the metal sector. So we are very much open to ideas, and the pipeline is already there. The quantity of gas is already earmarked for us. And in the long term, 7 + 5 would also add extra capacity to reach 25 million. Another important factor of Duqm, and that's very, very, very critical, is that we have allocated 200 square kilometers of land for renewables. It's very important to understand that Duqm has, throughout the months of the year, over 10 knots of wind, and it's sunshine almost around the year. So we have DEMI already with the Investment Authority, and we have also ACME of India. Both the European and Indian company are now testing the wind and the solar parameters of Duqm. And we hope that within probably 2 years, we would have some capacities of green hydrogen, green ammonia produced out of Duqm for export. This is also important because, as you know, the port of Duqm itself is ideally located, but has also a depth of 18 meters. So that makes it very attractive for huge ships. We have already placed an order for 4 mega cranes, and we have floated a tender through, of course, the port company and Asyad to look for a partner with that respect. And these 4 cranes are already 5G compliant, coming back to the issue of connectivity that was raised earlier by DJ Pandian. Connectivity is also important because we have just created next to Port of Duqm an adjacent port, which is 10.5 meters deep. So you have an 18-meter deep, you have a 10.5-meter deep port, and both of them complement each other. And this is very rare because it's not in Sahar, not in Salalah, nowhere in Oman, and probably not many places, not in Africa and not in the area. So these 2 ports will work together, not compete, but work together. One of them is mainly targeting fish, the fish sector. And I hope that the AIIB would be interested to look into some of the fish projects that are done by our state-owned fishery company owned by the state fund, but also look at the possibilities of other food coming in and out. Because of the proximity of Duqm to Africa, and because of the shortage of food supply to the GCC, we think Duqm can also add value there. So that's very important. What's particular also about Duqm, although Sahar has its port and airport, Salalah has its port and airport, Duqm has 2 airports. So actually Duqm has 2 airports and 2 ports. The second airport is basically Ja'luni, which is about a 35-minute drive from Duqm airport, which gives you for holidayers and for charter flights quite a requirement for many of them that you should have a standby airport next door. And I think this is what makes Duqm, and this is why His Excellency Abdul Salam and perhaps His Excellency Qais earlier talked about touching on the issue of our ease of business, but also attracting investors and having places like Duqm, Sahar, Salalah probably as a destination. But I think what we have also in Duqm, and I'm touching on the issue of regulation by Lou earlier, we are a self-regulated authority or agency in Duqm. So we are actually the Ministry of Housing, we are the municipality, we are the environment agency. There is the environment law for all free zones is in the hands of the authority, which allows us actually to have a one-stop shop for major investors if they're coming to any of our free zones. We still use the Invest Easy platform by the Ministry of Commerce Industry, which is a very well and advanced system. We also use the e-visa by the Royal Oman Police. We also use the e-customs by the Royal Oman Police, but we bundle that together with our own regulatory framework in Duqm, which allows us to make decisions faster. Probably we could license a hotel in Duqm in less than 7 days, and it has been done before. We are also self-regulated when it comes to building codes. So recently we have also allowed 3D printing buildings in Duqm, and we have allowed it in the free zones, but we think Duqm will accelerate more because of the size and because of the empty space in Duqm. While in Sahar, in Salalah, Al-Mazyuna, and probably we will see that the land there has already matured, and therefore 3D printing would come in as a complementarity, but in Duqm would probably make a big business case. Finally, I would like to touch on the issue of minerals. Now, Salalah Free Zone has a good access to big reserves of thamrite gypsum. And Duqm has big access to Al-Menji, which is a nearby town where we have abundant resources of gypsum, and we think dolomite and a few others. I would not take more of time, and I think this information could be shared by the investment authority, but there is a study already going on, and probably you know, Mr. Liu, that there was a study of comparing the advantages of whether we should have a railway from Shwemiya Menji to Duqm, or we should have a jetty to export to the world, or we should have a place where materials will come to Duqm and from Duqm will go to the world. And probably because of the depth of Duqm, major ships can come to Duqm. We have also a study right now to give our two potential investors in cement companies access to a corridor to a small railway. Probably they may or may not come back for finance to you. Those two cement companies and mineral companies have a proximity to the port, so we've given them land, and we have encouraged them to use a railway corridor to invest over 20 years probably, and have it on probably cost sharing or non-discriminatory access to that corridor. And if they do so, we think they would have access to abundant electricity in the daytime because of the double factor of the wind and solar, and because that is the time when we have peaking time for most of the south and east bound power line that comes to us. By the way, we are already now almost in the final stage of connecting to a 400 megawatt connection between Duqm and towards the east part of Oman and Muscat. And if that happens, we could actually export green energy when we don't need it during the daytime, and we could import extra energy in the wires during the nighttime. And both DEMI and ACME have not ruled out the possibility of selling directly to customers who would be interested to buy green energy for getting green credit, but also they have expressed interest and now are looking for buyers to buy from Duqm their future green ammonia, green hydrogen. Finally, Sohar has already started producing its own 25 megawatts of energy from solar through Shell. We have now talked to the Ministry of Housing to expand the land, because our aim in Sohar, although we produce 400 gigawatt worth of electricity in Sohar, 1.9 of that is for our own consumption in the free zone. We think we could top it up by another 900 or even 1 gigawatt in the future of green energy that would make Sohar compliant to Vision 2040, which His Excellency Qais talked about earlier, where Oman should become a 25% reliant on green energy through the 2040 vision. And I would be available to answer some of your questions if I have left up anything. Thank you, Samar.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that comprehensive overview and shedding light on the many opportunities, projects and opportunities that are aligned with AIB's corporate strategy and mission. And this, of course, takes me back to Mr. Liu. And I would like to hear from you after this comprehensive overview by His Excellency. In your view, how does the Duqm projects that have just been presented tie in with AIB's corporate strategy and objectives of cross-border connectivity and future developments? It's clear from what His Excellency has said that they are quite tied to your strategy, but I would like to hear from you on this as well.